Yo guys, what is up? My name is Gian and welcome back to FPL Tribe. In this video, I'm going to discuss my Game Week 1 team for the up and coming season. If this is something you guys want to see every week, give this video a like, give it a subscribe, and follow me in this season. Let's get into it. Starting with the goalkeeper Sanchez from Brighton, for me, probably the best 4.5 million goalkeeper in the game. There was a decision between him and Bachmann from Watford. But for me, Sanchez just playing in a better defense. They've proven what they can do in the Premier League, and that's why I'm going with him. He's probably going to stay in my team for the rest of the season. Then moving on to my first defender, Trent Alexander-Arnold. No surprises here. I think he's the best defender in the game. So going with him just gives you... He probably plays more like a midfielder as a defender. Got the best cross in the game. So for me, really no other options than going with him. Even if it costs 7.5 million, I think he is worth that. If you look at the other players you can get for his price, he's probably going to get the most points, and I expect another 200-point season from him. Then pairing him up with Luke Shaw, my second defender. As we saw, he had a brilliant Euros, so I think he's just going to get better and better as he goes on. Playing for Manchester United, that's going to be a better defense this season, so I expect him to get more clean sheets. He can be more attacking because he knows the defense behind him will do the job. So Luke Shaw, for me, probably also someone that's going to stay in for his price. He's going to stay in my team for the rest of the season. I just think there's too much value. Then moving on to Tsekimas. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but that's the 4 million defender from Liverpool, replacing Robertson. So this is just a short-term option for me, as Robertson, when he's fit, will come back into this team. So I expect him to just be in this team for the first 4 to 5 weeks, maybe the first international break. Robertson will be back, and that's when I'll look for someone to replace him. As you guys can see, I have 0.5 in the bank. So going from a 4 million option to a 4.5 million is not too difficult, as I have the money in the bank. Then moving on to the midfield, I'll be going with Bruno Fernandez. I think there's a lot of speculations at the beginning of the season. Is he the right guy? Is he overpriced? United won't get as much penalties as they normally do. But I think not starting with him and he goes against Leeds, that is defensively not the best. So if you go without him and he scores maybe a goal, a penalty, a goal, if he gets an assist, and then you're already behind from the first game week. So for me, if you see that he's not performing as he did last season, I think it's easy to go down from him. And also one of the options with Kane not knowing where he is, Lukaku coming into the game, you can always, in 2 moves, get either Kane or Lukaku that just signed for Chelsea. So you can take him out, take Bruno Fernandez out and go to one of them. So for me, even if he doesn't perform like we expect him to, it's an easy move to someone else because he is one of the most expensive players in the game. Going next to him, I'll be going with Salah. I think this is a no-brainer for anyone that plays FPL. If you're not going without Salah, I don't know what you're doing with your team. For me, just a captaincy option for probably the first 10 game weeks. So not knowing who's going to partner him, if it's going to be Jota, if it's going to be Firmino. So I think just a really good option, as I say, for captaincy, probably every week for the first 10 game weeks. And as we know, Salah is explosive. He might score a hat-trick in one game. I remember last year against Crystal Palace coming off the bench and scoring a hat-trick. So that's something you want in your team, someone that you know will get points game in and game out. Then moving on to Greenwood, I think this is a good option for the start, as Rashford is out, Cavani is not back, Martial is not really favoured by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So for me, Greenwood, I expect him to even start in a striker position as Cavani is out, like I said. So for me, a really good option just to start the game week. And at 7.5 million, I think he's also a no-brainer. He performs like a Premier player when he is fit, when he gets regular game time. So I expect Mason Greenwood for the first 3 or 4 weeks, as United have very good fixtures as well, to get off to a very good start, and then you can always look to transfer him out. But I'd rather start with him and get those points than try and catch up. Then the next guy, Rafinha from Leeds. For me, like I said in my previous video, underpriced. So probably one of the best options there is in his price range. Probably one of the best midfielders there is. He's on set pieces. He's very attacking, very good player. So for me, I don't think there's too much to think about this. He's at a nice price where you can swap him around with Bundia if you want to. He's not too cheap. He's not too expensive. So there's lots of options around that price that you can go for 0.5 more. You can go to Barnes. So for me, there's really a lot of options in that position if you feel that he's not the one for you. But for that price tag and what he brings to your team, it's just, for me, someone I need. And then moving on to the next player, Ivan Toney from Brentford. This is probably one of my punts that I'm taking this season. Not knowing how Toney plays, I haven't watched any of his games. I just saw his stats, and for me, that was enough. I mean, getting almost 40 goal involvements in a season is really good. Even if you cut that in half, like you expected would go, so that's already 20 goal returns for you in a season. So coming in at 6.5, if I can get someone for that price that gives me 20 goals, I'm more than happy to take him over the course of the season. The only problem there is with Toney, not really any other players in that price range as strikers. So if it is a misfire or if he does get injured, it's difficult to move your money around to get someone else. But I expect a lot of him this season, and just I think for his price range, if he plays like his stats shows, he's a really good option. And then the next guy next to him, Michael Antonio. For me, West Ham having very good start to the season, and probably one of the easiest games in the first week, as I expect Newcastle not to do very well this season. So for me, a really good option, playing in a very attacking side as we saw in pre-seasons. Ben Rama looking really good, also someone that I was considering that will play behind Antonio and just feed him all those balls that he can try and finish. So for me, Antonio, probably for the start until West Ham starts playing the Europa League, where he might need a rest because we know he's very injury prone. So as a start, when there's matches are far in between each other and he's got enough time to rest, I think Antonio is a really good option. And then the last starting player, Danny Ings, that moved from Southampton, I think is a really good option for me. Probably one of the most underrated strikers in the Premier League. So moving to a team that's really exciting, that finished the season last year. Yes, losing Jack Grealish, but adding players like Bailey, Bundia, really attacking players that might feed him the ball, especially Bundia being the assist king that he is. I think there's a lot to expect from Danny Ings. As I said, he's a quality striker, and he's going to finish off those chances that Watkins might have not done in the previous seasons. So I expect a lot from Aston Villa, and especially from Danny Ings. Then moving on to the bench, as you guys can see, Frazier Foster, I think, not Frazier Foster, Ben Foster, for me, just one of the better options there is, because we don't know who's the starting goalkeeper for Watford, so he might be the one that's going into that slot, and just having a 4.0 million player on the bench that might start, I think that's someone anyone should be looking at. Then moving on to the second one, Ben White, that moved from Brighton to Arsenal. Arsenal not having the best season, but really playing well in defense. So I expect that to continue this year under Arteta. So Ben White, someone that's probably just going to be on my bench because he's not really attacking. He won't get attacking returns, but he might get the odd clean sheet. So that's someone. And the most important thing about your cheap bench, as you guys can see, all 4.5 million defenders and midfielder on my bench. You just want someone that plays. So it doesn't need to be the most attacking, because I invested all my money in my starting 11. So the money on the bench is just something that I don't want to waste. So going for 4.5 million options, even if they're not too attacking, just make sure they play. So if you get an injury or someone comes up and might not play on the day, you know you've got that player that comes from the bench that will give you at least 2 points and maybe even a clean sheet to get an attacking return. Then the next guy, Luke Ayling, I think one of the best defenders at 4.5 million, playing in a lead side that's very, very attacking, and I expect them to continue their form again this season. So for me, a really good option. Luke Ayling will be playing on the right hand. I think if there was some speculation that he might play in the centre back positions, but we heard this week that Leeds have defenders that's coming back from injury, so I expect him to go back onto that right wing a right back spot and just very attacking, putting in some good crosses for Bamford, for Rafinha, for Harrison that will be in the box. And this season, I think he's going to get a lot more attacking returns than he did last season. Then the last guy, Brownhill, 4.5 million midfielder that will play for Burnley. And I think a really good option here, as he will start most games, he will play most games, playing in the more attacking than a guy like Gilmore or Louise that will be more center defensive mids. And that's not really what you're looking for. You want someone that might get the goals, might get an assist. And I think for that 4.5 million price range, Brownhill is definitely the best option. The other negative about him, he is playing for Burnley. That might not be the most attacking, but like I said, it's someone that plays, and I think he's guaranteed his spot on the right wing. So for me, a very good option because he plays and he will get you those 2 points, even get the odd not clean sheet, but assist or goal every once in a while. So really good option. Then moving on to my vice captains will be Bruno Fernandez, and the captain armband, as you can see here, Mo Salah. So I really like Bruno Fernandez against the Leeds team that's leaking goals. It didn't have the best of pre-seasons, so for me, a really good option. But I think the best option for this week, Mo Salah, coming in with the captaincy armband for my team this week. I just expect a lot of Salah this week, coming in against Norwich, that I think will be the worst team in the Premier League this season. If Salah can get off to a good start, I think it's good for all our teams, because most of the people will have him, and if he gets off to a good start, that just sets up his whole season. And I expect Mo Salah to get another season of 20 plus goals, even getting with a 5 or 6 assists. So for me, Mo Salah definitely a captaincy option for most of the games. Even in the hard games, Mo Salah is the one that pitches up for Liverpool and is capable of getting a goal in any game. For me, Mo Salah definitely a captaincy option for most of the games. Even in the hard games, Mo Salah is the one that pitches up for Liverpool and is capable of getting a goal in any game. So guys, that's it from me for this video. If you did enjoy the video, give it a like, give me a subscribe, and I'll be updating this team every week just before the deadline. I try to do this one as late as possible just because there's still some uncertainties, and I think that might change, but the core of this team will stay the same. There's only a few players that might change around, like Ayling or Ben White. So for the most part of this team, it's set. And if you guys enjoyed it, like I said, give it a like, give it a subscribe, and good luck with your season. Cheers, guys.